Hi, everyone. It's very nice to have you all join us today. My name is David Karlbach. I am the MD for International Programs at the World Trade Center, Utah. And we are very happy that you were able to join us today to learn a little bit more about growing internationally in the fintech space and about some programming from the US Commercial Service that might be helpful to you later this summer. The World Trade Center, as you may know, has the goal of helping to make Utah the crossroads of the world, one company at a time. And that's our motto. And I particularly like the notion that we're helping one company at a time. We have resources here that are very eager to get to know you and help you and your company grow. And so I hope through these kind of events that you'll learn more about what we do and give us a chance to help you grow. I'm going to today talk to Rob Marriott from Nexio. Nexio is a Utah FinTech company that has had quite a bit of success and growth in recent years. Rob is their chief sales officer and has been a key driver in their global growth. He has spent a good part of his career in fintech, in sales roles, including leadership roles at Ingenico and at TELUS Solutions. He has a degree in international marketing from BYU's Marriott School of Business. Rob, thank you very much for making the time today to share your story with the audience. I understand that you have a set of slides to kick us off with, and then I'd like to follow up with some questions and answer. So Rob, over to you. Thank you very much. You might be on mute. There you go.
Rookie mistake there. Yeah, thanks for having us be part of this. Appreciate the introduction. Yeah, I'd like to let me share something real quick with everybody. Just give a quick intro to Nexio as we kick this off. So we are a Utah business started in 2008. We're located down in Orem. And the company has evolved as well as our strategy. So basically, our whole premise is to have evolving payments with our clients, and then I think this story will lend well to that. Payments are especially challenging. They're super complex, lots of regulation, and without a future conscious payment strategy and an optimized stack, growth blockers will emerge. What does that mean? Well, we talk about a growth blocker being some kind of complexity or some kind of challenge that enters into your payment stack and requires you to change or grow what you're doing today. I'm not going to go into all these things. This is kind of a technical document in some ways, but there could be lots of challenges that pop up. One particular company we're working with, it's actually a Utah-based company. They have a game, an online game that they sell through the iOS and Android app store, but they also sell direct through their website. And they have India is actually their number 2 user base outside the US. 60% of their clients are outside the US, but India happens to have the second highest number of users globally. Unfortunately, because of payment limitations, they're only able to collect so India ends up representing number 15 in revenue. And so part of that challenge is because they're not able to accept the right payment methods that people require in India, and they get low authorization rates. That's just one small example of how a company, as they go international, can run into blockers and challenges. So what Nexio does is basically allows you to identify those growth blockers, find the optimal business outcomes, and create a strategy. Our platform basically helps interconnect hundreds of other platforms. So instead of having to go out and create connections to these solutions yourself, one connection to our platform enables you to get access to all these different solutions. Companies like doTERRA, ResNexus, Ski.com, these are some local companies that we work with who leverage this platform. Basically, it's embedded payments. So the things that we offer, again, they're all part of the platform. This is especially important for companies with limited IT resources. They don't have to go out and have their developers spend hundreds of hours integrating to these different unique solutions. Again, one connection to our API gives them the ability to have security, control, redundancy, and lots of options. Again, this is sort of a little diagram here. That one API connection into Nexio, again, gives all these different solutions. 110 plus global connections, dozens of alternative, actually hundreds of alternative payment methods globally. And again, payment tools, which will allow administrators or management to track on dashboards and reports what's happening globally on their payment platform. These are some of the partners that we work with around the world. We'll touch on some of these, I think, later. And again, just lots of different solutions and tools, security, billing, recovery, the ability to prevent fraud, secure customer data. That's about it. Yeah, the future of payment is yours. So that's a little about what we do. Now you're on mute, David.
Is that I actually saw the message that it said the presenter put me on mute. I don't know if that was you or Rayanne, but I appreciate it. Any case, back. Thank you very much. And that was a great introduction, and it does sound like you have a product that a lot of people will need as they grow internationally. And so it's great that you're talking to us today. I hope the audience, if they, to the extent they have that type of issue, that they think about using Nexio. But it's also good that you have grown internationally. Maybe you could just share a little bit about that. You said you've been around since 2008, I think you mentioned. So this seems like a product for the times right now. Can you tell us a little bit about your history? Where did you start? And how did you get the idea that international growth was really key to your company's overall success?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I was brought on in January of 2019. The company had like a pivotal moment a few years earlier where they were out visiting a large client, and the company was only, at that time, was only able to offer domestic US processing services. And they were basically told by this large potential client, like, hey, thank you very much, but you guys are in the minor leagues. We need a partner who's in the major leagues who can really help us globally. So I think that really caused the executive team to kind of, retrospect on, what's the future of this company. And so in order to remain relevant and competitive, the team really decided that they needed to build out a global platform. And so they brought me in 2019 to do that and to kind of lead the charge with an international division.
I see. And could you say a little more about your international footprint, if you will? It's clear from your presentation that you're able to process payments all over the world. Where are your clients right now, and to what extent have you been growing your client base, not just your payment capabilities, but your client base itself outside of the US?
Yeah, so we have clients on pretty much every continent now. Europe, Asia, Latin America, North America, obviously. So we've been able to expand again through those partnerships to offer services. Some of our clients here in the Valley are in the direct selling MLM industry. They'll have operations in like 40 to 50 different countries. So we've been pushed and challenged to expand our services to kind of match their footprint.
Gotcha. Very good. All right. So you've grown internationally, both in terms of your footprint and your execution capability, if you will, but also in terms of your client base. We want to talk a little bit in this Q&A about challenges. Why don't we just start with the role of partnerships? Maybe we could start with the question we were discussing just before we started. What is the role of partnerships in your ability to grow internationally, and what are some tips on and lessons learned on building those?
Yeah, partnerships are super key and super critical, I think, to our business particularly. There's the one-to-one, and then there's the one-to-many. I mean, we learned early on that by establishing integrated partnerships, so and that in the fintech world, for us, that means, our platform is actually connected to our partners' platform through APIs, through technology, right? It's not just like a referral partnership, but because our two platforms are integrated, we can literally share data between clients, and that's really helped us, and it's helped our partners as we've allowed them to leverage what we're building instead of having to build it themselves. It saves them tremendous time and speed to market advantages. More importantly, it provides us, Nexio, with access to their customer base, and we cross markets and are able to upsell their clients on the services that we offer, and in some cases that becomes a new revenue stream for them. So partnerships are supremely critical for us to keep the go-to-market strategy moving forward at a proper pace. And again, identifying those right partners in the specific markets that we want to go into is a key challenge and opportunity.
So I find that very interesting. We, as World Trade Center, and we'll talk about this a little later, try to help companies across the state grow through international trade and sales, or sales and investment, I should say. And we often take companies to trade shows, but different industries use trade shows different ways, and the value that I think our clients, our companies get out of those trade shows varies from show to show, but industry to industry. Could you just talk about where you have found your partners? Where have you established those relationships? And really, for my edification, what role, if any, have trade shows played in being a market or a place where you've met future partners and developed those relationships?
Yeah, that's a good one too. We do a lot of international travel, obviously. One of the first trips I took in 2019 when I started was actually to England. We went to a direct selling association event there where we got to meet lots of local vendors and companies like Amway and Avon and Mary Kay. And it was important for us to meet those local customers, but also the vendors and suppliers that we would be partnering with as we expanded our footprint. We also had the ability to go to a couple of Fintech conferences. And one in particular was in Amsterdam, but while we were in London, we got to meet with one of the potential partners that we were working with at that time, who now today is actually one of our top global partners, and they're actually located right there in London. That's their global headquarters. Carry
on.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you mentioned a conference. I suppose that was before the spring of 2020. I just wonder if you could share a little color or perspective on how you think the COVID pandemic has impacted your ability to form and develop partnerships, and whether you think, as hopefully the restrictions abate, whether you think the potential will improve for companies to establish new partnerships and grow that way.
Yeah, I was actually going to get to that too. So that's a perfect entry point for that. So I travel a lot with our SVP of business development. He's the one that actually manages the partnerships. And, although COVID obviously has put us into this, webinar situation where that's all we do is this, video conferencing and things like that. We're eager to get back face to face as soon as possible. So we did have to cancel a couple of trips to Asia and to Latin America over the course of the pandemic, but we are traveling again, and there's nothing like that face-to-face interaction. It changes everything. I can think of a handful of situations where conversations and partnerships were progressing pretty slow, and then after we met face-to-face, everything just sped up immediately. The trust level and the communication just really took off. So we're super bullish on the ability to get back out and start, face to face, shaking hands and breaking bread with people.
Great. So again, a bit for my edification, actually, but I hope for the audience's benefit as well. I use the word trade and investment quite often. It's part of our mission statement that we're going to help through trade and investment. But I often throw in the word and partnerships. But I think it's a word that covers a wide spectrum of relationships. Could you just give a little sense for the range of types of partnerships, either that you have or that you've considered, just any perspective on what does partnership mean? Does it include equity? Does it include revenue sharing? Is there an exchange of IP or other forms of cash exchange? I don't know. Just give a sense for that. I think it would be helpful, again, at least for me, and maybe I hope for the audience.
Yeah, you're spot on. There's definitely varying degrees of partnership. In some cases, it's as simple as like you said, just sharing information and sharing leads potentially, or just helping each other progress in the specific market that you're working in. Another little deeper would be more like an economic, like you said, like a referral partnership where you're actually incentivized to provide potential clients and things like that. Then there's like a much deeper one, like we were talking about earlier, which is like an integrated partner where you're actually connecting disparate platforms together of technology through APIs and actually touching each other's databases and things like that. So those are a little more in depth, and obviously in every case you want to share things like NDAs so that you're protecting each other and beginning with the end in mind so that you understand kind of where things are supposed to go and what the expected outcomes are. But there's definitely varying levels. At some point, some of these partnerships can even turn into deeper marriages with like acquisitions. We see that happen a lot with companies, specifically in the payments industry, where they start out with a partnership and then they end up becoming a merger and acquisition target at some point down the road.
And is there any particular form of partnership that you would think, or that at least in your personal experience has given you the biggest bang for the buck, or been most helpful, or would you say it just is also situational? You can't really say one type is more impactful than the other.
Yeah, well, I think definitely the integrated partnerships are the best, again, because both parties can really leverage the technology back and forth between each other. It makes the full suite of services that we have available to the clients, and so there's a lot less limitations involved. And it's speed to market's really the key, I think, there too. Once somebody decides that they want to use our services and they're already integrated to a partner, then we don't have this long week or month delay for them to get things up and running and tested. So those are definitely the most valuable partnerships for us, or the integrated.
All right. And again, back to the earlier discussion or question around sources or where you find partners. I recall in a previous meeting, Rob, that you mentioned that actually some of your biggest partners were suppliers back in the day, were the people you were buying from, and now you're kind of working more cooperatively. Could you share a little bit about that and just give some color for the audience about how maybe a supplier could become a partner and important to your growth?
Yeah, I mean, when I was at Ingenico previously, we were sort of limited, I guess you could say, to the solutions that we had on our platform. And so I kind of dreamed of a day when I would have the ability to offer, the best and most adequate solution that a customer needed. So when I came over to Nexio and kind of had the handcuffs taken off, you could say, and had the opportunity to partner. So then in that moment, like you said, a lot of the companies that had been suppliers that I worked with previously, I was able to come to them and say, hey, the restrictions are all gone now, right? Like let's talk openly and what's the best solution that we can potentially find here. So then a lot of those suppliers are now some of our key partners here at Nexio, as we've basically given unlimited opportunities to them to work together with us.
All right. Well, we've spent a bit of time here on partnerships, and I know you believe those have been absolutely key to your international growth, and I think true for software companies more generally, fintech and software even more generally. Beyond that, I know there have been issues and challenges with respect to communications and just managing teams and partner networks globally. Could you share a little bit about what those challenges have been for you and what it's taken for you to address them?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, some of the key challenges are probably like just back to just basic things like communication, like managing different time zones. We have partners in Asia, in Singapore, Malaysia, Japan, South Korea. So time zones is always tricky. We found some pretty cool websites to help you to find the best optimal times to have conversations during working business hours. Where it gets tricky is where we have a client who's based in Europe, and then you have a conversation with somebody in Asia. Just basic things like language barriers. English still is definitely the business language of the world. Sometimes you run into challenges with just accents. Sometimes we'll have 3 or 4 people on a call, and we're sort of slacking each other during the call. Like, did you understand what they just said? We even had to go to the extreme one time of hiring a third-party translation company that could get on the phone and help translate the call real time, because we didn't have anybody that spoke the local language. But so yeah, communication is still a challenge with the distance. One thing we do also with our partners is we try to set up like biweekly or monthly calls, and we'll use like an online project management tool, software tool, where we can basically track the conversations, make notes, and then put in action items so that everybody keeps on track with what needs to happen next. And so that's been very, very helpful as well to help all teams stay on the same page with
we have no paid sponsors yet. Do you mind mentioning the name of the tool that you use? It might just be a nice quick tip for people in the audience.
Yeah, sure. We use Monday.com. That one was one that got all over the news during I think the Super Bowl. They had some pretty big ads, but we were using it for the last couple of years. So, but that's a good one. Okay.
Somewhat related to managing time zones and people, but also the partnership question is the following: do you have resources that aren't partners, but that you either employ or have some kind of formal relationship with in different locations around the globe? And if so, how did you decide where to put them? And what's the exact legal framework or arrangement that you have? Are they employees? Are they agents? Things like that. Could you comment a little bit on establishing your footprint around the globe, other than through partnerships, which we have talked about quite a bit already?
Yeah, that's another really good one, because as you mentioned, as you start to develop these partnerships, there's only so much we can do, not being physically in the region or in the area. And although the monthly conference calls are important and critical. So yeah, we do in some cases employ. We have actual. I wouldn't say they're in one case. We have an actual employee in China. He's more of a developer, but we've utilized him and leveraged him in many cases to communicate with our partners. So in that case, we do have an actual boots on the ground employee. In other cases, we will leverage like a consultant in the region. This is pretty common too for our clients as they look to expand globally. They'll basically hire like an attorney or a industry consultant who can be their eyes and ears on the ground for legal, regulatory, compliance, logistics, things like that. So we employ sort of a variety of those solutions, but in most cases where we have a key partner, then we'll leverage them to kind of be our eyes and ears for that region.
Okay. And then just one final question. I thought you might touch on it there, but I didn't hear it so clearly. Do you employ or contract for any resources to do your development work? Again, a lot of companies in the audience, maybe all of them, are software based. I know using contract software developers is quite common. Could you comment on how you've done that, and is it impacted at all by the other partnerships and networks that you have in terms of how you decide where to have those resources located?
Yeah, so we definitely do. I think every company, as they grow, needs to employ some type of offshore outsourced IT model. Partly just because to keep the dev cycles going, so we don't lose the 24-hour cycle.
Right.
Keeping up with customer support and upgrades and things like that. So we've done nearshore. We just hired a new CTO who has experience working with India. So we're anticipating to be rolling out a dev team, a small dev team in India soon. But it's critical also because, again, a lot of companies, particularly to payments, there's a lot of specialized and regionalized payment solutions. What we're used to here in the US with credit cards being the majority way to pay, digital wallets have started to creep in. Obviously people have been using things like PayPal and Google Pay and Apple Pay now. But in other countries, you have dozens of payment methods that we've never heard of here. So it's important sometimes to have that local expertise from IT and developers that are used to those type of solutions that our customers require. So we do leverage a variety of IT solutions to make sure that we're up with the latest and greatest.
And is there any interplay in your decision making about where your partners are located, where your payment capabilities are deployed, and the question of where your nearshore or offshore development resources are? Are those pretty independent, your choices about where they are?
Yeah, I think initially we started with a team in Mexico, basically to your point, because of time zones. Like it's easy to be just 1 or 2 hours ahead or behind. When you start talking about the other side of the globe, then someone has to pay the price to work an off hour and be available to interact with those teams. So I think initially, just for ease of communication, a lot of companies will pick the near shore versus the offshore solutions for that main reason.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Rob. Hopefully you can stay for the rest of the hour. For the audience, it would be great if you have questions for Rob, if you start dropping them in the chat box. I see one in there that I haven't looked at yet, but Rayanne and Jake, I think, are monitoring that. And again, now would be a good time if anyone in the audience has a question for Rob to drop it in there. We're going to come back to Rob in a second, or in a few minutes, I should say, to ask those questions. But right now, I'd like to pivot to another speaker that we've lined up, and that's Christine Kelley. She is the commercial attaché for the U.S. Embassy in London. And I'm someone who did not grow up in economic development work or in diplomatic work, and those titles can sometimes be a little intimidating, to be honest, to us in the business world. But it really means she's boots on the ground for the U.S. Department of Commerce to help all of us, to help us as U.S. citizens, U.S. businesses grow internationally. And she's our friend in court, if you will, in London, in the UK. And she's there really to meet people like you and help you grow. Christine, please feel free to add to my my informal introduction there as you like. But I know you also have some prepared remarks for us about the commercial service in the UK and an exciting upcoming trade mission that you're organizing to bring companies like some in the audience to the UK in June. So over to you, Christine.
Thank you so much, David. And it's so funny you should say that about the diplomatic titles, because when I first became a commercial attaché, I didn't know what that was and I Googled it. So I was like, oh, I'm the attaché. What does that mean? And actually, for anyone who's wondering, it just sort of means like the resident expert. So if you're the defense attaché, you're the resident embassy expert on defense. If you're the commercial attaché, you're the resident embassy expert on trade. So little diplomacy trivia for you. But yeah, no, thank you for that introduction. I'm really excited to be here today, not least because I've actually worked with the World Trade Center Utah several years ago on a trade mission to, oh gosh, I think it was Paris and Rome when I was serving in our Seattle Export Assistance Center. So it was a pleasure to work with the World Trade Center
That
Utah.
was Governor
really
Herbert's last trade mission. I remember that.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, I thought you're a fantastic organization, and I was so impressed by the Utah companies on the mission. And then one more thing before I start my prepared remarks. Rob, it sounds like Nexio would be a really good fit for our mission. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And I've been having some trouble with the screen freezing, so I don't know if this is going to work. But we've got a backup plan in that case.
I've solved the problem right here.
Oh, have you?
Well, with my crossed fingers, yes.
Oh, thank you. Let me know when you can see my screen.
We're good.
We're good. Okay, great. I'm not going to put it in presentation mode because we've got a good thing going right now. So, so yes, I'm here to talk to you today about the US-UK Financial Innovation Partnership FinTech Trade Mission to the UK, which will happen from June 27th to June 29th this summer. So first, a little bit about who we are in the U.S. Commercial Service. We are a government organization under the Department of Commerce, and we help open new markets for U.S. exporters. Ultimately, our goal is to increase jobs in the U.S., but we do that through facilitating export for U.S. companies. So we do this in a couple of different ways. For those of you who haven't worked with us before, we seek to level the playing field by eliminating trade barriers. Sometimes that's tariff-based barriers, unfair tariffs. Sometimes that's non-tariff barriers. Whatever is sort of keeping U.S. companies from competing on the same level as other foreign competitors, we can often intervene and help level that playing field. We also advocate for U.S. companies who are bidding on foreign government tenders. So when a company is submitting a tender, they can get in touch with us, they fill out an application, and we can intervene as an embassy, perhaps by having the ambassador call the decision maker, or perhaps by having the ambassador write a letter, or there's a bunch of different ways that we can help advocate to help convince a foreign government to choose a U.S. company for their public tender. We also help U.S. businesses just succeed at exporting, whether that's export counseling, whether that's telling them, what do export controls mean? What is a good logistics provider? How does, overseas invoicing work? There's all kinds of different things that we can counsel on. And then we also help companies understand the foreign market. So beyond just the logistics of exporting, we can help them understand, okay, so you want to export to the UK, what is it that you're exporting? And is this going to be a good receptive market for your product? What do you need to know to be successful here? And maybe we can help you find a partner or a customer. And so we have a couple of different programs in place that we use to help companies in trade promotion. And then finally, we attract foreign direct investment into the United States. So when we're working overseas, we're always looking for opportunities for a foreign firm to come and open an office in the United States and therefore provide US jobs. So that's just a little bit about who we are. We've got a global network, which means that we are in, oh golly, well, it says on the slide 80 plus international offices. I should really probably know that off the top of my head. But basically, you can find a commercial attaché or several commercial officers like me in embassies and consulates across the world. Normally in countries in which we have very robust trade relationships. And then we also have 100 or more US offices pretty much in every major city of the United States, where we have dedicated trade specialists who act as local points of contacts for companies to help facilitate that introduction into global markets. So on the call today, we have Daniel Bruner from the Commercial Service Utah office. And so if a company on the line wanted to look at exporting into South America and Africa and Europe, and they wanted to reach embassies in all those locations, they would go to Daniel, and Daniel would help make those introductions to the right people in the embassies and consulates overseas, the people like me who could then turn around and help them break into those respective markets. So everybody has their local point of contact that they can get in touch with to be that sort of gateway to the world. Just a little bit about past FinTech trade missions. So we've done several FinTech trade missions with the Department of Commerce, and we've been quite pleased with the turnout, both on the side of the US companies and the reception that we've gotten overseas. So we took a trade mission to Singapore a couple of years ago, to Dubai, to Israel, and this is sort of the latest in our FinTech trade mission. I'll call it a series, even though it's not an official series, but certainly it's starting to turn into a series. This mission was actually meant to happen several years ago, but of course, COVID, so so here we are in 2022. And to Rob's point earlier about it just being so important, that face-to-face interaction, we could have done a virtual trade mission to the UK, and it might have been an okay, it might have been one of the best virtual trade missions anyone could have done. But at the end of the day, virtual engagement just isn't the same as person-to-person engagement. So we're really quite excited about this mission coming up this summer. And I'll just put out there right now, and I hope I'm not, everybody knock on wood, because I hope I'm not dooming the whole thing by saying this, but the UK has fully opened back up. It's a highly vaccinated population, and I think it would take an awful lot for the government to reverse its path of opening up and to start shutting things down again. So I feel quite confident that the mission will go forward. Yeah, hopefully I didn't just doom us all. So let's all just cross our fingers and knock on wood and throw salt over your shoulder and all the things that we do when someone says something silly like that. So, So this trade mission is under the commercial pillar of the US-UK Financial Innovation Partnership. The FIP was established in 2019, basically as a means for the US and UK to cooperate closely together on regulatory and commercial issues in the financial services sector. And as I mentioned, the mission dates are June 27th to June 29th. At the end of the official mission, we will also offer an optional spin-off to Belfast, Northern Ireland, which will begin on June 30th and probably go through July 1st. And basically, the mission is all about enhancing opportunities for the fintech firms to engage, network, find partnerships, and hear a little bit from the UK fintech experts. And we're accepting applications on a rolling basis. And the deadline to apply is April 15th, which is right around the corner. So if you think this is right for you, I would say please don't delay. What we really want to do right now, we're focused on recruiting for the mission, and we have a skeleton agenda that stakeholders have agreed to, but we're going to start putting the finer points on the agenda in the coming months. And in order to do that, we have to know who's participating in the mission. So we're unlikely to accept applicants at sort of the 11th hour when we've already tailored the mission agenda to the companies who are coming, and we've already set the expectations of the stakeholders on the UK side. We want to make sure the mission is good value for everyone, and that means we have to cut off the recruitment in April and then start planning an agenda around the companies that speaks to their interests. So the application process, we're looking for 10 to 15 small, medium, or large companies who have grown beyond the startup phase and you've entered the expansion phase. So we're looking for companies who are export ready, who either, maybe they've never exported before, but they're ready to make that leap, or maybe they've exported to other parts of the world before and they haven't tried out the UK or Europe, or maybe they already have a presence in the UK and they just want to expand their potential partnership base or their networking base or customer base. And so this is this web address that you see here is where we're accepting the applications. And then what happens is you fill out an application, we look it over, and then we contact you to have a 30-minute chat about your company and your mission objectives, and we try to determine if you're going to be a good fit for the mission. And then if we think you are going to be a good fit, we'll get in touch with you and let you know the next steps. So you should apply if your company is US headquartered and it has at least 51% US content, because we are obligated by law to work with US companies who have 51% US content. If you're a small to medium enterprise that's export ready and you're looking to expand into your first overseas market, small to medium enterprise already exported to other markets and is interested in the UK, or any size company that's interested in building out their networking partnerships and customers. So really, we've got something in there for everyone. And if you want to hear more about, well, I'm going to go through the agenda here, but I could certainly answer any additional questions to talk about your particular situation. So a little bit about the agenda itself. It's going to kick off on Monday, June 27th. And in the morning, we'll give everyone a chance to arrive. For those who didn't arrive on the Sunday before, as flights to London tend to be red eyes, you tend to get in around 6 a.m. So we'll give everyone a chance to check in and freshen up, and then they'll head over to the embassy or to the ambassador's residence for a country briefing and a little bit of an overview of the mission and some Q&A. And then we'll do a small, intimate roundtable with UK FinTech thought leaders to sort of give everybody a baseline for what to expect over the coming days. Just some discussions about challenges and opportunities in the UK FinTech space and what to expect over the next couple days. And then we will have a meet and greet welcome reception at either the embassy or the ambassador's residence, where we invite stakeholders who will be participating later in the mission, or just stakeholders from the UK financial services sector to come and meet you. So that'll be a good networking opportunity. And then the mission, the planned activities will kick off on Tuesday morning on June 28th. We're going to have a UK government engagement with the Department of International Trade. That'll probably be a panel session of some kind, maybe a roundtable to sort of speak with DIT about the financial services sector here in the UK. And then we're going to visit the London Stock Exchange for a briefing. In the afternoon, we're going to visit the Barclays Rise Accelerator, and we have a several-hour program mapped out. I'm really excited about it. Barclays Rise has about 40 or so tenants that are fintech startups that we will be enticing down to their auditorium with lunch and maybe some drinks. And they'll be coming down to meet the mission delegates. So they'll be hearing from the mission delegates, maybe a quick elevator pitch, who you are, why you're here in this market, what kind of partnerships or what kind of companies you're looking to interact with. And then we'll give everybody an opportunity to network, do a little matchmaking, and we'll also have a couple of briefings, probably from Barclays, maybe one of their mentor companies to come in and speak to you about what it's like to do business in the UK. And then that evening, we will have a dinner. It'll start out with a sort of intimate roundtable with several venture capital and private equity firms to talk about raising capital in the UK. How is it different from the US? And it actually is, quite different. So we'll hear from those companies and give you a chance to pitch yourselves as well. On Wednesday, we'll have a panel session to discuss the UK regulatory environment, and in particular, the UK's FinTech sandbox that they've set up. And then we'll also have an intimate discussion with some FinTech peers, other US companies who have come to the UK, and some of the challenges they've faced, and maybe they could tell us a bit about their battle scars and what they've done to overcome some of those difficulties. And then in the afternoon, we're going to have a banking roundtable where we sit down with perhaps 5 or 6 small to medium to large banks to hear from them and sort of pick their brain about, how do you approach a bank? How do you become a bank's customer? How do you become a bank's partner? What are the big banks looking for right now? What kind of technologies is everyone sort of keeping their eye out for? We'll have that sort of discussion. So another really good networking opportunity. And then we're going to visit another accelerator, much like Barclays Rise, and we'll meet their tenants and give you a chance to form more partnerships or customers, or at least give you an opportunity to pitch yourselves. It kind of depends, whether you're on the mission to find customers or partners. It sort of depends by company. So that's why I'm sort of speaking in general terms about these networking opportunities. And then in the evening, we will have a closing reception hosted by the City of London, and they will be inviting all the who's who of the London financial services scene for you to network with. And then the next day, we'll start the optional spinoff to Belfast. One thing that I didn't put in my slides are the fees for participants. So if you fall into a small medium enterprise category, it's $1,500 per delegate. And $1,500 for the company's participation, and then $750 if you want to add an additional delegate. For a large company, and we use the Small Business Administration's tool for determining company size. For a large company, it's $2,500. And so so that gets you participation in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then the optional spinoff to Belfast, there's no fee for. Our consulate in Belfast will be hosting you, and you would just be paying for your hotel and travel as you would be for the rest of the mission. So it's free. So applications, once again, I just want to show you the website where they will be accepted for the next couple of weeks. And we filled probably 2/3 of our mission availability by now. So we're going to cap it at some point. It doesn't benefit everyone on the mission if there's too many companies, and if nobody, if there's limited opportunity for each participant to shine. So if you think this is something you want to do, put in an application and talk to us a bit more, because if you wait, I wouldn't want you to wait too long. And then that's it. these are all the various folks you could contact. If you're interested in hearing more about the mission, please feel free to reach out to me. And then if you just want to talk to the commercial service in general about opportunities around the world, maybe separate from this mission, maybe you're interested in other commercial service programming, you can reach out to Daniel, and I've put his contact information here. So with that, I will turn it over. Let me see if I can do that.
I'll take it back, Christine.
Oh, good. Thank you, David.
Yes, thank you very much. That was very informative and complete. One question though, and then I have a question for Daniel, but one for you, Christine. Could you just let the audience know generally how much work is involved in applying? Is it a 15-minute exercise or multi-hour exercise?
Gosh, that's a really good question because I've never put myself through the process.
I see.
It's relatively quick. I mean, you go
Okay.
to the link and it asks for some basic information like contact information and your objectives in country. So it shouldn't take more than a couple minutes to apply. It's not extensive.
Not extensive. Okay, good. That's good to know. Thank you. Well, I hope a lot of companies in the audience do apply. And in case you've heard this word trade mission before, you may not have, but we use the word quite often at the World Trade Center to talk about trips that we're planning as the state of Utah to take Utah companies to, and then we go to a place. In this case, the word is being used in the kind of the reverse of that, which is Christine is over there in the UK and is organizing an event and is inviting people to come to it. But in any case, in the end, it's the same outcome for you as a company. You're at a place abroad and there is a rich agenda and it's orchestrated, curated, to create opportunities for you. And we are so grateful to the U.S. Commercial Service for organizing a relevant trade missions like this and including us and letting us reach out to companies around the state to make them aware of the opportunity. And I'm going to say a bit more about what we do in a second, but before I do that, just to close out with the U.S. Commercial Service, I wonder if we could pivot, Daniel, to you. Christine mentioned that you can help in ways beyond this trade mission to the UK. Could you just say a few words about the U.S. Commercial Service here? I noticed that in Christine's presentation, there are even more commercial officers in the U.S. Than there are abroad. You're one of those. Could you talk about your service offering here and how companies in Utah might avail themselves of those, Daniel?
Thank you very much for the question, David. And thank you, Christine, for such a great overview of the U.S. Commercial Service. It makes my job a lot easier. So as Christine mentioned, I'm an international trade specialist here with a commercial service in Salt Lake City, Utah. I and one other person cover assistance for the entire state. And I actually cover the sectors of ICT, finance, and of course, FinTech. What we do is we act as your point of contact, your window to the organization. We help you get in touch with folks like Christine and her team in London or anywhere else in the over 80 countries where we're present. And for this particular question here, I would first point you toward trade.gov. This is our website, trade.gov. We have plenty of resources available, especially for FinTech companies. You can search our trade events search engine. You can search by the sector. You can also get in touch with me and I can put you on our newsletter list. And we have trade leads that we put up there monthly for every sector available. But really, I would think the best way for you to stay in touch with all the resources that we are able to provide is to reach out to me, get connected with me. Tell me what your company does so that I'm aware if any trade leads or opportunities come across my desk. I'm educated enough about your company, I can put you in contact with the folks who are running this event, for example. We can also, it doesn't necessarily need to be specific to an event. If you are interested in any country, I can reach out to me and I can put you in contact with the team abroad to learn more about regulations on getting into that country, paths to market, finding partners, even setting up a VIP branding event for your company through the embassy or consulate. So my information was on the previous slide. That was daniel.bruner@trade.gov. And I'm happy to get the conversation started. Thank you very much.
Great, Daniel. Thank you very much for that. And we will share those slides after this event, if we haven't already, with everyone in the audience, so you can access those links and other information about the two representatives here from the U.S. Commercial Service. All right, thank you very much. I just want to say a couple of quick words about World Trade Center as well, and then pivot back to Rob. We do have a few very good questions for you, Rob. So in terms of the World Trade Center, what I want to say is that besides organizing events like this and helping you access networks like those of the Commercial Service, we do a handful of other, we have a handful of other services or programs, I think quite impactful, and you may or may not know about them. One is our STEP grant program. So we are the representative designated by the governor to receive Small Business Administration grant money called STEP grant, State Trade Expansion Program grants, and then give those out in turn to Utah companies. We have received over $1 million in grant funding from the Small Business Administration, and we actively seek companies, small companies, again, by the same definition that Christine mentioned, small companies, typically under 500 employees, but you could talk to us about that, who are looking to grow their sales through international trade. And we can give out grants, 3, 4, 5, up to actually $15,000 per year to companies to do things like travel, to attend trade missions like this one in particular. You could apply for a STEP grant for it. You could apply for a STEP grant to make your own travel, to go on trade shows that we go to translate your website, to develop marketing material internationally, to optimize your website for international search, and a host of other things. So all of that is on our website at worldtradecenterutah.com. And I encourage you to reach out to us to learn about that or to apply. You can do that online and get some grant money from us via the Small Business Administration. And we would love to have that money help you grow your sales. We also, for this group, are organizing in particular a trade mission to Toronto, to Collision, which is one of the larger tech conferences in the world. And it is June 20th to June 23rd. I think that's pretty close. I've lost track of the dates, but that I don't think it competes with your trade mission, your FinTech trade mission, Christine. I hope it doesn't. But in any case, the dates are June 20th to June 23rd. It's in Toronto. And if you're interested in going with other companies from Utah to that show, we have some booth space. We have some space for startups in the startup area of the show, access to networking, to mentoring, and so forth. And we encourage you to look into that as well if that's of interest to you. We're looking for good companies to go with us to Toronto. And then finally, we have a set of services which we call Global Business Services that help you identify markets to enter and do that analytically and thoughtfully, and then help you develop entry approaches. We call that launching, help you launch, and then land and help you execute on that plan. And those are professional services that we offer to companies. We call them Global Business Services. And we think it's a very thoughtful breakdown of the work, identify the market or markets, develop a thoughtful approach, comprehensive approach that covers all the key issues that you need to deal with, and then execute on it. And it's something we've done for, I don't know, 100+ companies in Utah in the last year or two, and we would love to do that for some of you as well. So please, if you're interested in that, reach out to us. Okay, that's it for the PSA on World Trade Center. Rob, I'm going to turn back to you in the final 7 to 10 minutes here. Can you come back online, Rob? I just see your picture.
Yeah.
Yep, I see life. Excellent. Sign of life. Very good. Thanks, Rob. Well, we've gotten a few questions for you. Maybe just to start, could you just comment on your competition? I think there are probably some companies out there who realize that what you offer is what they need. Could you just talk about the landscape of competition and maybe what differentiates your product from others?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I don't typically like to promote competitors, but we also believe that what we do is pretty special and unique. So there's a few other companies out there. I think one in particular, CyberSource is a company that's actually owned by Visa. They have been doing something similar to this for the last probably decade. And there's another one called ACI Worldwide. They're actually out of Florida. What we've done actually to kind of be a little unique in this instance is instead of trying to build everything that they've done, we actually integrate to their platforms. So we've actually, speaking of partnerships, David, we've actually created partnerships with both those companies, CyberSource and ACI, so we can actually resell their services as part of integration to our platform. So that's one of the benefits we bring to the table is instead of having to pick the right platform, we give access to all of these different quote unquote competitors. So it's kind of like a co-opetition scenario where we can resell their services, so they still get the volume through our reseller construct, and we give them the optionality that they're looking for globally. So
Understood. All right. I think you said or asserted that it's a complex and maybe you said a dynamic space, fintech and payment services in particular. We had a question about what has changed and maybe more importantly, what do you see changing on the horizon, or what are some of the new, I don't know, aspects of payment services that are going to be part of the future that the audience should be aware of?
yeah, I'm going to kind of wrap one of the questions in here too about cryptocurrency into that, because that's one of the areas I know that a lot of people are very interested in, not just from like an asset, buy and hold, because we think it's going to go up in value, but from an actual transactional, perspective. So I know a lot of people buying cryptocurrency can be somewhat expensive, I guess, depending on which platform you're using, which exchange. So people don't typically think of it as something that they want to you're not going to pull out your wallet, your Coinbase or your crypto wallet to buy groceries or to at a restaurant. But that's where I think the future is going to go. Is I'm hoping that there's some winners that start to emerge as a cryptocurrency for the regular day commerce, right? And I think what needs to happen for that is, again, the continuing evolution of the blockchain, where fees can go down, but more importantly, the processors that are part of this ecosystem basically start making that more widely available. I mean, you think about it, 15 years ago, nobody had heard of PayPal. Even just a few years ago, nobody had heard of Venmo or Zelle as being a way to actually complete a payment transaction. And now you see Venmo at lemonade stands, on the side of the road with kids. They got their little QR codes there. And so I'm hoping that's what happens, specifically for crypto for the global markets, because currencies and foreign exchange can be a very expensive part of a transaction. In the B2B world, where we operate a lot, trying to move money between currencies, is can be very expensive again as you're trying to make a payment. So those are some of the areas where I'd like to see growth and opportunity.
Okay, very good. Just one more question. We'll probably wrap on this. It might have been one we asked earlier, but I don't think we did, which is as you've picked markets to enter, either to develop capabilities or to develop customers, which markets did you enter in first outside of the US and why?
So it's pretty common, as you might see, to work closer. I mean, so what we see is two trends, right? Number one, what we see is expand into the English speaking markets. So we see a quick expansion into our northern friends in Canada. We also see quick expansion into again the Great Britain, UK, Ireland, Scotland, all those countries, and then including Australia, New Zealand. So we see that happen pretty quickly, with a lot of companies. The next obvious one is Mexico, just because it's again our southern border, and you have obviously a big population of immigrants who have come into the U.S. who have family or friends across the border. So those are the areas that we've focused on initially as we started to grow our global expansion.
Excellent, very clear. Very helpful. I think on that point, we're basically at the hour. And so again, Rob, I wanted to thank you for the time you made. Congratulations on your progress so far. Indeed, please continue to work with us if we can help you grow, and take Christine up on her compliment and offer to that you apply. Be great to see you over in the UK if that makes sense for you for this FinTech event. And Daniel, thank you for your contribution to this event and for what you can do for all of the companies in attendance today. And for all of you who made time to join us, thank you. Hopefully you found that helpful. And at least some of you are interested in the trade mission that Christine described. We'd love to see you apply. We'd love to help you with that or any of your international growth needs. So please feel free to reach out and watch for future events as well. Thank you very much and good luck.